This meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. So let's go ahead and move on to roll call. Start with Kristen.
Aye.
Emily here?
Emily?
Aye.
Travis?
Present.
Erica?
Aye.
I'm awesome. Erica. All right, I'm sorry, I was, in my brain was Erica and I couldn't say it because I knew that wasn't the right name.
I always look at the top of the agenda to get the names.
Right.
Just so I don't forget.
So we'll start with approval of meeting minutes from May 27th, 2025.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Any comments, questions, concerns around the minutes? Hearing none. We'll vote starting with Kristen.
I'll abstain. I didn't read them. Sorry.
Emily,
Aye.
Travis,
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Approved meeting minutes will be available to the public on our website on the next business day following this meeting. No discussion or comments will be entertained unless requested upon by the chairperson or the board or committee. We do not have any public meetings or hearings to entertain today. So we will just dive into old business as we also have no new business.
Okay. First item on old business is Emily and I went to the Canada Hill Renfrew Conservation Property to look for the trash dumpings that one of the residents had emailed about. And we had a great walk around the
Nice.
trails, and we did not see any significant amount of trash, just like an occasional, bottle,
blown and-
tire, like etc.
Gotcha.
Yeah, really nice day, and we saw a little possum cruising around.
Good.
Saw the picture.
Did you look in the
Yeah,
in the G Drive? I put the pictures because the trails. I'll just share my screen real fast. I think the trails do extend onto the neighboring property.
Mhm.
There we It didn't turn up the way I wanted it to. But you can see that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so at the bottom of the screen, it just kind of goes down the hill and to the Turner's Falls Road. But the top of the screen, it continues on to the neighboring property. And I think the trash is probably there. This, such a delay. This is city owned. Whoa. But there is like a private parcel kind of on that borders Bridge Street. But mainly it's city owned until you get to like that Stop and Shop area, and there's phone, what do they call it? Not phone, high tension power lines, like a whole strip through that property. And the person who emailed did mention that there was like an encampment there. So I'm just kind of thinking that the trash is probably in between our property and that zone. I tried to figure out who managed that parcel because it is owned by the city. Eric and I hit a dead end, oddly. It was like the one parcel that didn't have it wasn't listed in the open space plan that we had or the previous one. So more digging needs to be done to try to figure out who to even notify.
I could offer a little on that if
Oh,
you'd like.
cool. Yes.
So if it's the property, I'm trying to remember the parcels. If it's the property where the old animal hospital used to be, that property is actually deed restricted so that it's not that
It's not.
parcel. Okay,
Yeah, it's not.
so,
I could zoom in real fast on
Okay, sure.
this.
Is it below Stop and Shop? This?
Here, I'll show you. No, it's north of Stop and Shop.
Interesting. Okay.
so the other thing that I learned when going through all of like conservation properties and yada, 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 is that essentially if there's city property not managed by a department or whatever, then it's the mayor who is the one in
That's what
charge of it.
he's like, I feel like
Yeah.
that was his hunch.
Mhm.
So this highlighted parcel is ours, the one we hiked. And this one is the private one
And
that the trail kind of goes through. At the-
kind of where's Stop and Shop?
A Stop and Shop is
It's
right
up-
here.
Oh, way down there. Okay.
Yeah,
we're
and so
talking- okay,
here's
okay.
the power line strip. And so there's a trail that goes like from this road all the way up through here. I think there's a few. So yeah, this whole parcel is Stop and Shop right here. And then this is the city, and then this is private, and then this is us. So, and then this is the animal
Mhm.
Yeah,
shelter.
that's what-
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway,
So who
What's-
owns the former animal shelter property now? Is that
We
private
do-
or is
we
it the
do.
city?
the city
okay.
does. Oh, yes. When
Yeah,
I say
and-
we, I mean the city.
Yeah, and what I was saying was that someone from the public let me know a couple of years ago that the deed for that, turning it over to the city, said that it would be turned over to the Conservation Commission. And if not, then it would revert to the previous owner. And that has never
Oh, so
happened, but
it's-
so
Oh.
just something to be aware of.
Okay,
Or it
okay.
had to be turned over for conservation purposes or something like that.
Okay,
And
So
that's
it's-
never happened.
the animal shelter one.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
if that little property in between, if it could be, then it would be contiguous.
It would be, yeah. And I don't think this is
Um,
developed.
If it's just
yeah.
city, I mean, city
Mm.
owned,
Oops. Yes.
you you didn't hear back from those, the person who wrote
Mm-mm.
you. I mean, I just didn't know if somebody went in there, they just, got
Well,
sick of it and
that's-
just went and cleaned it up.
Yeah,
or-
that was one of our theories of what might have happened because we didn't find it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Pretty much all the, maybe even all of the garbage we saw probably wasn't on the Canada Hill Conservation property.
Mhm.
Because we went beyond it.
Yeah.
Because we were following the trail. Yeah, and there was a couple of little spurs and one was like a access to behind the tire place.
Oh.
And that's where the tires were, but it wasn't on our land. It was on their, it was on private land.
Mhm.
So we were like wondering if it would be a small job, but there isn't really much that we could do
Yeah.
without going onto somebody
Onto
else's
some
property,
private
Yeah.
property. Okay.
which was good. It looked nice.
Well,
Great.
good. Does it look like it's used?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does it? Oh,
yeah.
good.
The
Okay.
trails were really well defined.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the guy who wrote in also was like, these are used all the time.
okay.
Yeah.
If I can add, I think that he probably knew to contact us because we recently put up boundary markers there saying that it's owned by the Conservation
He
Commission.
he brought up the boundary.
Yeah.
That's
thing.
great.
Yeah.
So there's a win, I guess, for doing that. Yeah.
Okay, so,
Seems like that particular project has reached its logical conclusion.
yeah, unless I hear back
You
from the
gonna-
guy.
I was gonna say, are you gonna try to track down exactly who owns that little?
Yes, that was the plan. We kind of hit a dead end.
Okay.
But it's still somewhat pending, so. Also, we didn't see the trash, so ideally we would have seen the trash and been able to be like, this is where it is
Mhm.
to whoever does manage the property.
Right. right.
Yeah. Should we go move on?
We should.
Okay.
Okay, so Resilient Deerfield Watershed Project Priority Review. Agent to review with the commission progress of the Resilient Deerfield River Watershed Coalition meetings and seek input on project priorities.
Yeah, so I have been going to these meetings and they've been really interesting. If you recall, FERCog received a $650,000 MVP grant to implement this Resilient Deerfield River Watershed kind of plan that would bring together the 14 towns within the watershed to kind of work together and identify project priorities in the towns and hopefully have like cross-boundary collaborations on different projects. And part of achieving that is identifying areas that are flooding and that potentially have like infrastructure issues that if flooded would, cause a bigger problem. And I'd sent out an email about it. And honestly, I added it to I want to talk to you guys about it, but it was also like a really light agenda. So I thought it was a great opportunity to bring it up. But I did send out an email. I heard back from Emily with a few ideas. So basically, here, let me just revisit the email so I can be more specific. These can include infrastructure issues, restoration opportunities, landowner engagement goals, or any other challenges or opportunities you see locally. So they'll be using this list as a basis for interactive group discussion and to identify common themes and opportunities for collaboration across the watershed. So they provided this really large map. Oh, can I rotate this?
Do you want to share it so Kristen
I
can see that?
do, but I want to rotate it.
Yeah,
Can I do that?
you should be able to.
Okay.
If you right click maybe?
You might need to open it in a
Yeah.
PDF viewer, then you
Maybe I'll
should be able
okay.
to do it with the browser, but
download
I
it.
don't know if you can.
All right, Kristen, I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Okay, share. Okay. Go away. How do I make that go away?
Jeez.
An exit. Yeah.
Where's the X? Go
Oh,
away.
God.
Anyway, so here's the map. I would rotate it.
Yeah, yep.
It still seems very small, even on the giant TV. But they sent us this map and they basically want us to mark on it, like where there's issues. I'm going to be going through the hazard mitigation plan for the city and the municipal vulnerability plan for the city. And there's a lot of things that have already been identified in that and need to figure out what has been addressed that was identified, because I think it's from like 2020. And I'll be marking up the map. But basically, if you guys, just from living here, have any things that come to mind that, of ideas for like cross town collaboration or areas, flood, things you've witnessed from living here during all the extreme weather events.
What qualifies as cross-town,
Well,
like?
there's Coleraine, Leiden, Shelburne. I think Bernardston is in the watershed. So, we're downstream, and there can be issues in the other towns that affect us, because, maybe there's, I don't know, something failing upstream and
Do all the projects have to cross boundaries or is it just?
no,
within the
no.
Yeah.
They don't. But they're going to be coming up with a list of priorities
Mhm.
based on, I think, severity.
And is it all conflicts and problems or do they want opportunities as well?
They will want, I
Like, is
think,
it
a
just things
list
that are
of
going wrong?
like
Or is it things
obstacles
that
and then a
are-
list of opportunities
Okay,
for
great.
each one.
Okay.
I think. I should
Okay,
have the
great. Yeah,
book.
that works.
Yeah.
Because
so-
the area that I'm not sure if I included in my response to you that I really would love to see on somebody's priority is the area Wheeler Brook, basically.
Yeah.
Going across the property next to the Jehovah's Witness congregation,
Huh?
which then goes to the Big Y
Right.
complex.
Yeah.
And, they're doing construction in that area right now. They've done that. I'm sure that they've had to do repairs over the years on those culverts.
Mhm.
And the non-developed, not presently non-developed property right next to the Jehovah's
Mhm.
Witness property is just a great opportunity for
Yeah.
flood. Like, and it's the only place really that you can do some floodplain restoration there between the pretty constricted Wheeler Brook above, because if you look at the topography, it's steep valleys.
Mhm.
And then you're getting into, all of the developed areas. So.
Yeah, because that area seems like kind of the first chance it gets to spread, right?
Mhm.
So when you connect a river to its floodplain, what does that mean? Because I feel
It
like
just means that you have an area that can absorb the extra water. That's all it
Okay.
is. And it just means that you wouldn't develop there. You might have to lower the bank so that the water can
Oh.
reach it, because a lot of our streams are incised. So they, even in a flood, all they're doing is making it deeper rather than overflowing. You want it to overflow.
But
and
when
to
it
just
floods, because it's
yeah.
moving so rapidly, it's like
And,
scouring.
we people, we just, if water's out of the banks, we think that's bad.
Yeah.
But that's the
If it's-
problem.
if it's
Because
meant to be like
supposed to
that,
go
then-
I've
over.
heard that used in the context of Miller's Meadow, but it is not developed, so I wasn't really sure.
Miller's
what-
Meadow is a special situation because I don't even have all the words, but it's the banks are so high, they're
Yeah.
raised,
Uh-huh.
because there was deposition on top of the fluvial floodplain. So to do the kinds of reconnective work there
Yeah.
would be millions of dollars, like lots and lots
Oh.
and lots of taking out the fill and doing careful engineering. And so unlike the area of the field right next to,
Right.
like, we don't want to have them lose their parking lot.
Right.
But if it just could be made sure that it's not developed
Yeah.
and maintained as a floodplain, that could be like, intentionally for pollinators and to be flooded, then it would be a benefit down the road.
Well, because the property south of the Jehovah's Witness property is not owned by them. So it's owned by somebody
Mhm.
else.
Correct.
I don't know, I don't know,
I think they,
what would that entail, like
a
reaching?
purchase by
out?
the
Oh,
town. That's all,
purchasing it.
purchase, a
Yeah.
conservation acquisition.
Okay.
And again, where's the money come from?
Yeah.
But if it's
Well,
if there's
FERCog
money
might.
from FERCog
They
and
might have,
they're,
yeah.
even if they had the personnel that could write the land grant from the state that would identify it, do all the work, do the surveying, whatever, then that would be a huge gain.
The money that I was referring to will not go towards implementing any of the projects. It would just be towards
The planning
the
process.
planning
Yeah.
process, and then
We-
also they are hiring a consultant to create this flood model where it will show kind of like current conditions and then projected conditions, if certain things are implemented, like nature-based solutions kind of stuff, and you can like check them and see where the water recedes to for like, certain level rain events, to see how effective different solutions might be if they were
And they'll be
executed.
building those models based on the locations that the group.
Yeah, it's
identifies.
gonna feed into those. Yeah. And so, yeah, and this is something they want by the 30th. There's still 20 more days if you guys want to like mull it over and think about, something comes to you while you're driving, or you can shoot me an email and I can add it to this map.
I was just wondering, I mean, when you talk about infrastructure, are they talking about culverts and dams, or we're not?
Yes,
or
and then also maybe just like buildings that are right on
Like
a
the Tappan Dam
river.
Museum.
Right,
I think
okay.
anything that poses a threat or a risk or a hazard of some kind if there was extensive flooding.
I mean, the biggest is down by the Industrial Museum, the Museum
Right,
of Industrial History. But I already mentioned that to you in
Yeah,
the list, but
The
if the
Berkshire
flooding that
Gas,
nearly reached the, whatever it is, a power station
Right.
and the Berkshire Gas,
yeah,
I think like that's like the top,
right,
or should be the top priority for the
Right.
city.
okay,
Because if that was flooded, if if the flood from Irene had kept going, then that could have been,
Catastrophic.
I also just sent everybody an email for the North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative, that NAC website. There are 37 stream crossings already identified in the city of Greenfield on the NAC website. And so NAC basically has a team of scientists. They collaborate with different people like UMass and maybe USGS, or I don't know who, but they go out and they assess various culverts, and if there's, say, a culvert that's within a cold water fishery stream or something that has an extra sensitive system, and say the culvert is, yeah, thank you, and say the culvert is like perched at the outlet, or it's undersized and it's creating erosion on the upland, the up gradient side, because it's so undersized, which can create a disconnection in the aquatic connectivity, then it gets put in this queue and it gets entitled to different grant programs, like say for the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration or municipal grants. So it's kind of a difficult system to navigate, but if you put under location state, put Massachusetts, and then under city Greenfield, and then there are two, yeah, don't pick streams, just pick city. And then,
am I on city?
yeah, so pick Greenfield and then, yeah, and so and then hit search. So right now, if you go under see the cell for choose data sets, there's two choices. You can do UMass Stream Continuity Project or NAC after 6/1/2015. You'll get different outputs. And I think there's like a total of 37. But anyways, that will give you culvert crossings, and not all of them are considered severe barriers to the aquatic connectivity, but some of them are. And so I would say prioritizing, just use their database, because if it's in this database and it's already tagged as a severe barrier, like a stream crossing at a municipal road is tagged as a significant barrier, or like, see that one, Meridian and Petty Plain Road, that's considered a severe barrier. And then the one on Cherry Rum Brook Gold Street's a severe barrier. Those are probably going to be pretty high priority, and they might get DER grants as well as municipal grants. So that may
Okay.
bump up the priority.
Cool.
I think if you click on the crossing code, I think it has
Yeah.
photos too.
That, yeah, it does. And that's a lat long. So if, you copy paste that, it doesn't have the point after the 42 or the minus before the 72 or the point after the 72, but you can like copy paste that into Google and then like just put the points in the negative in and get all that long.
Wait,
Yeah, that crossing code, yeah. So like you have to you take like, don't copy the XY, but like copy the 42 blah 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 and just put in a point after 42 and then a minus before the 72. Yeah, like put a point there before the 5. And then a comma after the 4. Yeah, a space and a minus. And then a point after the 2. Yeah, there you go. And it'll give you your Google point.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
But I
Yeah.
know that a lot of the DER grants and municipal grants for culvert replacements or small bridge grants are directly related to this this NAC database.
okay. That's
Because
good
a
to
lot
know.
of times it's like, you know, a cold water stream or it's an NORW for the Green River watershed or something like that. So it's considered an important stream crossing.
Oh, I see where it is. Okay.
There's a member of the public. who
Yes,
sent-
Chair, could I be recognized?
Yes.
So I live across from a culvert that was intentionally blocked to create like a parking area. But ever since that was blocked, it has created a flood problem. And I'm on Chapman by Arch, where Arch Pleasant and Chapman all meet. And we don't show up on floodplain maps, but we are flood hazard because every time there's a significant rain, because all the culverts and the drains were redirected at some point because they put asbestos concrete in them. And so I know that there's like a solution that could be had to maybe mitigate a lot of what feeds right into the Green River, because that culvert came down from so it goes from Bowker. I mean, the protected area that once was protected area, but it comes down from Bowker and Walnut, and then behind the houses on the odd side of the street of Chapman, which is on the opposite side of Oak. So when I grew up, you know, in this neighborhood, there would be like an intermittent stream, or we would have wetlands over there, and all the soils and everything, they all would substantiate that. I did have Mitchell Vi come out at one point in time, but I know he's not with our city anymore. So I'm not sure if any notes got passed, but on the backside of my property line, there is an open overflow, groundwater overflow drain, or whatever. It sounds like the river's rushing underneath our homes when we have a significant rain. So my concern is that maybe some areas on those maps aren't truly identified, culverts that may need to be rectified, you know, maybe reopened or repaired for their significance, and, you know, in protecting these lower level homes that, you know, we wouldn't want to see another Wedgwood Gardens where we're all kind of put out there because we have a significant flood and it completely wipes us out. I mean, we deal with the flooding issues quite often. And so I know the toxins that are coming from, you know, my concern is this happened during my closing. So when I was purchasing the home, I had grass and trees in my backyard. By the time I came back and actually signed those papers, I had pavement and no trees. So so I've been dealing with this problem I've been dealing with it probably for at least 20 years. But we didn't have a lot of significant rain or, you know, earlier when I bought it, until we got to 2007 or 8 when it wiped out Wedgwood Gardens. We had 4 feet of water in our homes. So so it definitely impacted us. And it is an intentionally blocked culvert and some redirecting of the stream. I can ballpark figure when it might have happened, but I'm not, you know, I'll have to look at deed information in order to be able to clarify, you know, what happened in that area. But the abutters that sit up by the Ink House, or, you know, the corner of the Roundhouse by Pleasant Street, all of that is ledge that leads right down to where we have that water issue. So like I had reached out to Patty. I can't really see who's sitting on the board in person, so I don't know if Patty's there, but I did, I'm hoping that.
No, she's not part of this group.
Okay, the Open Space Task Force, I think it's okay. So I'm hoping that, we have real clarity on the map, because I believe wholeheartedly and can testify to the fact that these culverts existed in this neighborhood, in the 50 years I've lived here. So in this neighborhood, I've literally only moved like 4 blocks away. So, I
You
can
know the name-
identify places on the maps that are inaccurate based on, what the topography, and the fact that I know there was a culvert there. I watched somebody fill it and nobody did nothing. And I know that they blocked some drains with concrete, like asbestos concrete. I guess it's showing up in I guess it's showing up on our water report. And I did hear mention of it, but that's behind my home. But that was all wetlands before. So, and if you go all the way back to when my house was built in 1876, it was farmland, and I was like, this little house was the help. They lived here, and the bigger houses up there were the landowners. So, there's I still live with clay basement and fieldstone foundation. So anything that's really significant does come into my home. And I know that we can solve this problem and help mitigate a lot of the lead that comes off the tracks behind me, which used to soak up into wetlands, which now go in every significant rain across that impervious surface, captures all of what comes off that drain, and it goes directly like a siphon into the Green River, or the groundwater overflow that exists on the property, which was once owned or eased. There was an easement from my deed to the city to allow that piping to go through my property. And like I said, I had grass before. By the time I came and opened, came with the keys, I didn't have grass anymore. I had a parking lot. So I know that's a significant concern of mine. And I thank you so much for letting me ramble on and hoping to be part of the solution. Thanks.
Well, thank you for adding that.
And we appreciate your coming to our meeting, Stephanie. Thank you. Yes, and to just a more recent observation, I believe it was a year ago, within a week or two, that area under the train bridge flooded and somebody's car floated across it because they hadn't realized quite how deep the water was.
Yes, we helped push that car out.
So yeah, this is definitely, I think, an area that could use some attention because it's clearly been an issue for some time.
There's one other area that I think we think we've already dealt with it once, up behind TCC in that area up there. It was a flood, it was a wetland, and they filled it and built on it.
Oh,
So
the
now,
house, that's a thing.
yeah, well, there's houses, but then there's a culvert down there that they say they complained about, that it floods all the time, especially in the winter when the snow covers it. And, is it, I don't know, is it Thayer Road? Is it?
Thayer Road sounds right, yeah.
Is it something?
That's where the
So
condos are.
this is the college.
Yeah, it's to this side.
Your side, west? West? Really? It's all woods right there.
No.
North?
Sorry. No, which way is it?
So
Up is
Thayer's-
north.
Line up.
Okay.
So you're,
Mhm.
so this is, that's going up towards Shelburne, but maybe move the screen that way. Yeah.
Oh,
They-
there.
yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in that, I don't remember exactly which crossroads it was,
Okay.
but it was in that. Do you remember
I
that,
don't
that
remember
project?
Mm-mm.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was a long.
Might have
time
been
ago.
before I started.
It
I think
wasn't-
it's Myers Farm.
Myers Farm.
It wasn't, it was actually that it wasn't really that, it was something else that we were dealing with on that, and then people came to us and were like, hey, but by the way, this thing floods all the time.
Right.
Um,
There is like a huge wetland right here, and this is like a
That's-
farming.
is that,
I know,
is
I
that-
got called out to this area So I know like there, like you go down this road, it's chain link fence and there's just like a huge wetland.
Right.
I could see that.
Well, something I don't remember this, but something about the story was like, they built, it goes up and so they're only gonna build 4 houses. And then they filled the rest of it in and built, and it was all wetland, and they just, yeah.
Jeez, okay.
um, I probably can go find it, because I mean, I kind of remember,
Okay.
so I can try.
Yeah, you could email me. You know,
But
I
that's
have
the other-
till the
that's the only-
30th
yeah.
to get it to them, so we have time to, let stuff trickle in.
But I actually like the whole floodplain over by. um, yeah, Well, our street, no, I meant by
Jehovah's Witness.
Is that
Witness.
Lund Drive? Is that the one that you're talking about where that like kind of cul-de-sac ended up getting put in there off of Homestead? In between College Drive and Homestead?
It might be, I mean, like I said, I don't remember the exact
Like, if
roads.
you go
I just remember there was
north.
a there was
You know, north, where it says ABC class art, I think that's what she's talking about.
Oh,
yeah,
oh, yeah.
I just know there was some,
Oh,
there was
yeah.
some project that
That does look like a.
they were working on.
And there's flooding that happens at Just Roots Farm as well.
Um,
Yes, also.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, Oh, well, then if you can still.
Oh, just a couple things I wanted to mention. I was realizing that one of our meetings falls on Veterans Day on 11/11. So the first meeting in November. So we'll have to cancel that one.
Okay.
And then I was wondering if you forwarded the ordinance stuff to the,
I saw that email and I had a mild panic.
well, they're meeting tomorrow, I guess, so it might not be too late to just forward it.
I met with the task force, the open space task force again, so I could give a quick update if people would like.
Yeah, that'd be great. Kristen, can you hear us?
So we've been meeting for about a year, and we're sort of taking stock. The mapping process for conservation priorities is our big thing we've done, and just having a few priorities that we're working on. So we took the opportunity to look at the various top priorities and again prioritize them to see what we really want to focus on, and maybe we're thinking about having 1 or 2 people take the lead on those and see, what further they can develop. And the things at the top, we're continuing work on the conservation priority mapping. And then also there's interest in seeing what support or interest can be brought to bear on improving trails on city properties. And I'm forgetting the second, what the third thing was. Oh, there's a pollinator plan for Greenfield.
Nice. Oh, cool.
So, and that's on the open space plan to implement it. So it might be that there'll be some of us working on figuring out what are the next steps for that. And some of the other things that we had put as a top priority sort of fit under those, including working on supporting conservation of farms in the city. So that would work under conservation. One of the items was seeing if there's interest or creating a volunteer network that could help with the trails. So that's a lot to take on, but is there in the mix. One of the things that we've added more recently is to do forest management planning for the town properties that's appropriate for. And I advocated for making that a very transparent, public engaged process, because it can cause problems if you don't, conflicts and people being upset about what's chosen, when the whole point is to do what's good for the community. So we saw that and the pollinator plan as opportunities maybe to do some outreach. And when the conservation mapping process is complete or as complete as we can take it, that would be maybe a good point to do some public sharing and information sessions and getting more input from the public. So there will be more iterations of that map that'll be shared. And we did return to an idea that had surfaced earlier about having different zones. And it seems at least likely that we'll do a different analysis on the city center than the larger areas, just because, you know, like a quarter acre where it's all developed could make a big difference for a lovely pocket park somewhere or a community garden or whatever. But when you're looking at the outlying areas, you're looking at whole farms or, you know, 20, 50, 100 acres, whatever that might be. So hopefully we'll have something maybe later in the summer to share with the Conservation Commission. And the next meeting, we're going to actually like take paper maps and stuff. And I think that Joan is going to reach out to you, Jessica, to see if you are able to join us.
Okay.
And anybody would be welcome. Everybody's welcome. But in terms of, you know, putting it on the Conservation Commission's radar, once we've sort of gotten to the next level of sorting things out, we would love to get feedback.
Okay, awesome.
No.
No,
No. I
No.
didn't send it.
okay. Did you just send it though?
No.
I'd say just send it off,
Yes.
because they're gonna meet tomorrow and then they'll have that. Yeah, because Christy, the director of Parks and Rec, called me. This Kathy, Golub, called her, wondering if we had thoughts, on it. So that's kind of how it got brought to my attention. So they'll be talking about it tomorrow. So I think
All right.
all's good.
Good. Well, I'm glad that she brought that to your attention because it completely left my brain as if it had never been there.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Gonna have to figure out where that is.
And then that's it.
That's it.
Do you want? Oh, I didn't.
There's no bottom on it.
Nope,
All right.
there's not.
All right,
I tried to
um,
save a piece of paper.
That's fair. All right, so I think we will request a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
May I get a second?
Second.
All right, so we will adjourn the meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission, June 10th, 2025 at 7:13 PM. Can I get a vote starting with Kristen?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Travis?
Hi.
Erica?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. We will reconvene on
24th.
June 24th at 6:30 PM. And we'll see you then.
All right.
Thank you.